Do you want to be happy in this life? Then live the Catholic faith. The faith teaches us how to truly enjoy life. The faith teaches us to truly respect ourselves as our own person. The faith teaches us how important others are to us in our lives. We all want to be happy. No one wants to be sad. No one wants to be hurt. We want true happiness in our lives. We want to see our children to be happy children, enjoying life, enjoying their childhood. We want our mothers and fathers, no matter how old they are, to be happy and enjoy life. And we believe in a God who has created us to enjoy this creation, this life that he has given us. And so for us to really enjoy this life, it is so important that we live this Catholic faith. This faith that teaches us how to live the good life. And we have Jesus the teacher, Christ the teacher. Christ is always teaching us how to live the good life. In this passage from the Gospel, he teaches us that we will be held responsible for the life and the choices that we have made. But that is only justice. And we believe in a just God who truly loves us and will hold us accountable for the injustices that we have created in our lives toward ourselves as well as toward others. And there will be accountability, because that is so important to make up for the wrong that has been done, so that the good may be truly privileged and truly appreciated. And so it's one of the foundations of our faith. We have the Catechism of the Catholic Church. What an amazing document this is. It's a teaching of the Church that addresses every issue of our lives. And it teaches us with intelligence and intellect and makes us realize how important it is that we have a good understanding of what we believe, so that we may truly live what we believe in our lives that we share together with one another, because we want to create for ourselves a truly good life. For there is never any happiness in anything less than the good life. How could there be? And the teachings of the Catechism are very much based on the 10 Commandments. And these 10 Commandments are not 10 suggestions. They are commandments. They are commandments given to us so that we may truly live the good life and find true happiness in our lives. God does not give us commandments in any way to burden us. He gives us commandments to free us so that we may be truly a person who lives the good life, not only for ourselves, but for one another. So we have those first 3 commandments that speak to us about our relationship with God and how important it is that we have in our life a good and healthy relationship with our God, who is the author of this creation and of our lives, and who is for us the Father. What a beautiful thing it is to have this relationship with God as a child to their Father. It's so personal. It's so loving. And it really calls us into a spirit of sacrifice. That wonderful word, sacrifice, it comes to us from the Old Testament. It's a word that means the giving of ourself for the sake of another. And so our God gives of himself for our sake to the life of Christ our Lord, who comes into our humanity so that we may not only believe in God, but we can be a person who truly believes in ourselves and who we are as a person created in the image of God, with intelligence and free will, able to make choices and decisions, and be able to understand and have knowledge of this creation that we share together. And so those first three commandments that teach us how important it is that we allow God to be so much part of our life, and who calls us together to be in communion with him. We are a sabbatical people. Keep holy the Sabbath. A day of thanksgiving, a day of appreciation for the wonder of creation. It's so sad when we lose touch with those first three commandments that speak to us about our relationship with God. We begin to become a self-centered person who somehow thinks that now I can be my own God. The oldest sin that there is, the sin of Adam. With a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of power, I can be my own God. I might say to the world, I believe in God, but the God who really governs my life is my own God, who I have created in my image. How sad it is to lose that spirit of the oneness of God in our life as a person created. And then we have those last 7 commandments that speak to us about our relationships with one another, how important it is that we truly love the family. The 4th commandment, we're created to love family life. We know how important family life is to the child, but not only to the child, to all of us of all ages. How important family life is to the elderly, who need to be cared for and loved. How important it is for those who are in the middle age, trying to secure a good environment for the family, either as homemaker or on some kind of job where there's employment that helps to maintain the home. How important it is to really honor and respect the work and the giving that family life is for one another. And then we have that 5th commandment of how we are created to be a people who love life. To love life. There's nothing else that even begins to compare with this life that we have. And it's so important that we love life. And science, we live in an age of science. And science has taught us what Scripture has already taught us. And that is that life, the person, begins at conception. That moment when the genes are brought together to create that person who was like no other person. There will never be that combination that comes together at that moment to create that life of that one individual person who is like no one else. And that will be the same genetic code that will follow them throughout the days of their life. And if they are called into a relationship of marriage where they participate in creating new family, others will inherit that same genetic code that has been inherited down through the ages. It's a beautiful thought that comes to us from this world of science. And it is that every child inherits all of the humanity that has gone before them through their genetic inheritance that is given at that moment of conception. It's an amazing and brilliant understanding of how amazing and wonderful this life is. And so we love life from that moment of conception to that moment of natural death. When, if we live long enough, old enough, we become that child again who needs to love and care of others. and how important it is that we have a true respect for life and for how important it is for us to be a person who truly loves, gives of themselves for the good of others. And then there is that sixth commandment that speaks to us about how important it is that we have true respect for our sexuality. The Catechism of the Catholic Church really teaches in detail an intelligent understanding of human sexuality and how important it is that we have a true respect for ourselves and for one another, and that we never begin to allow that area of our life to control us so much in our relationships that we become a stranger to one another. No, our human sexuality is a beautiful gift that is given to us that is so much part of our identity as a person and so important for us to respect in one another. And we know we live in an age where there has been a real loss of morality in respect to sexuality. And our message to the world as men and women of faith, as disciples of Christ, is to continue to be an example and to proclaim that if you want real happiness in your life, you will establish good and healthy relationships in your life where people truly respect and care for one another. So much can be said just on that one issue alone. And it's so important that we open up our minds so that we have a truly broad understanding of this very precious part of our personality and who we are. And then there is that seventh commandment, a commandment that really is a political commandment. Not only are we a person who would never take away from another what belongs to them, but we're also a person of conscience who is very concerned about the rights of others and that there be true justice for all people. And so we support whatever is going to bring true justice for all people of this earth and all people that we share this creation with. And that freedom should never be taken away from anyone, and that we see ourselves as a person who truly promotes that wonderful spirit of free will that our God has given to us. And then there is that eighth commandment that speaks to us about how important truth is to us in our life. No one wants to live a lie. There is no joy, there's no happiness in falsehood, in lies, in whatever is not truth. We want truth in our life. And so we must always be a person who others can trust. How important that is. And we know we live in an age where this has become a real issue. An issue where it seems so hard to be able to really trust others. And so as the voice of the church, each of us proclaims how important it is that we be a person who others can trust and who is a person who really cares about the well-being of others. So we don't make excuses for ourselves. We're always a person who is honest with ourselves about who we are. Strange. We're living in an age where we're becoming such a stranger to others that we even are becoming a stranger to ourselves. And our faith is always bringing us back into the reality of who we are as a person. And then we have that 9th and 10th commandment that really speaks to us about the problem of envy and jealousy. That sad problem where there are those who feel, if only I had relationships like that in my life, then I would be happy. Or if only I had all of these possessions in my life, then I would be happy. And how sad it is. There is nothing wrong with trying to desire more in our life, but not at the expense of not appreciating what we have at the moment, and not appreciating the relationships that are in our lives, that we share our lives together with. And maybe some relationships are more demanding than others. But we're a people who care about one another, to help one another, and not reject one another, and not somehow thinking that others could bring happiness. We are called to bring a smile and happiness and joy to the lives of others. It's a very challenging commandment, that 10th commandment, as well as that 9th commandment, to really appreciate what we have in our life. And if there is a desire for more, that desire is a good and healthy desire, as long as we appreciate what we have now. Because what we have now, we have. Because so many others have made it possible for us to live the life that we have in the world today. And we must have a real appreciation for what others have given, so that we may truly appreciate what we have to give to others. And so we live these 10 commandments because these commandments are commandments that can bring us true happiness in this life. When we neglect the commandments, we find ourselves to become a person who never seems to find joy, satisfaction, or happiness about anything. There might be just those momentary moments of sensation when there is maybe for a moment a sense of happiness. But the moment passes and the happiness is gone. Now, happiness is when we see ourselves as part of something that is infinite, that goes on beyond space and time, that we see ourselves as a person truly in communion with a God who comes into our life so that we may truly believe in ourselves as much as we believe in the God who created us. Let us stand and profess